Hello viewers and welcome to part 2 of this FIFA 19 Player Career Mode Wishlist with me, Bromo18. Now if you haven't seen the first installment of this wishlist series, be sure to go and check that video out first before you go and check this one out, because we'll be linking back to all the stuff that we mentioned in that one and then furthering on from that. But in the meantime, let's have a part 1 recap. So in part 1 we discussed free roam, being able to roam around the training ground, the stadium, your house, etc. We also discussed the potential addition of cutscenes and press conferences and how they could lead to different rifts and consequences depending on what it was you said. We also talked about the introduction of social media and how it's been introduced in the journey, and now we needed to see it in player career mode. And we could also go one further with posts that could be safe, balanced or controversial, and they could also cause consequences as well. On top of that, we discussed my player but his career aspects. So for example, being able to negotiate your contract length and your wage, negotiating sponsorships, hiring an agent, being able to spend your wage on different things like cars, houses, expendables, etc. Being able to demand or express an interest to move to a certain club. Having more than one offer available to you at once when you've requested a transfer, as it was having an effect on the way in which you could go about the transfer window. And finally, the ability to captain both your club and your country. Although we did talk about how that was a grey area because some people have never experienced it whereas others have and say it is in the game, but we aren't still sure whether or not it is. So on that note, that was your part 1 recap, and now it is time to get into part 2. And the first thing I want to talk about is my player, but this time the customization elements. Now although customization in FIFA 18 isn't bad, there is still a lot to be improved on in comparison to other career modes in other games such as NBA and Madden, etc. There is a lot that can be done in order for it to be improved, and there are a lot of things that I have for you here which may be able to go some way to doing that. Now the first one is to be able to add more details for your player. So for example, further details which I would suggest could be his hometown or his favoured club. Now this would lead into many things, but in particular different scenarios which we're going to talk about later on in the series. But say for example, if your hometown is Naples, maybe when you return to Naples, perhaps with another team of course, you'll get a good ovation from the fans, you know, and that will lead into scenarios that will be pleased to see you there because you know, you're one of their guys. Or maybe if you support AC Milan, for example, when you go and play against AC Milan at the San Siro, you know, they'll give you a good reception as well. But on the other hand, if you're an AC Milan fan and you go play against Inter Milan, you might get you know, a bad reception from the home fans. But we'll talk about this later on when we come to scenarios. Another feature I'd like to see added would just be more customization elements such as hairstyles. You know, it'd be nice if you could alter both the back and sides of your hair and also the top, which is something you can actually do in PES, which, you know, I don't see why EA can't have it in that case, you know, because PES have got the technology, Konami have got the technology to use for PES. You know, it's really handy. It just gives you more of a free feel when you're customising your hair, because I know a lot of people can never quite get the exact style that they're looking for, so they have to settle for second best. So, you know, why do that? You know, let's just get it out there, be able to affect both all elements of it, and you know, you can go from there. Next up is something that is highly demanded to be in player career mode, and that is tattoos. Again, you can have them in various other career modes. In NBA, again, I know it keeps getting mentioned, but you know, it is definitely a step ahead of the player career mode that EA Sports offer for FIFA. It's quite possible that you can also get them in PES as well. So yeah, let's see them added. We can also see them onto, you know, the real life players as well, because there's tons of players who have tattoos of all sorts. So yeah, let's get them into the game. Let's, you know, be able to put them on our players. I personally wouldn't have one on live play, but I know lots of people would love to have them on their pros, so have that option. So yeah, let's get that into the game as well. My next recommended improvement for player career mode would be to be able to start at a lower age, preferably 16, rather than starting at essentially 20 years old. You know, that's extremely unrealistic. You're missing out on 4 years, extreme high priority growth years as well, ones where you could be in youth teams, etc., which we will come on to. You know, why are we having to start so late in our careers? A lot of players who have already, say for example, Timo Werner springs to mind, Raheem Sterling is another one, they'd already made 100 plus appearances by the time they were 20, and you're only just starting out when you're 20 years old. And if you're, say, maybe born in July or August, your player actually turns 21 before the end of the first transfer season. So, you know, that needs to be changed, so we can start off at a lower age and we can have more time to play in our career mode and more growth years. Next up is to be able to change your position midway through career mode and also add new positions. It's so frustrating that, say, if you choose to be a striker at the start of career mode, you can only ever play a striker and that's it. The AI managers don't have the intelligence to rotate players into different positions anyway. You have to play in that certain position, so you're even more limited in that sense. It'd be nice, you know, how many times do we see it? We see it so many times in a player's career where you know, they have a secondary, tertiary, maybe in a fourth, fifth position. You know, so many players are full of versatility, or other individuals who actually just their natural is just changed there and then. They play in that position for the rest of time then, you know. So yeah, why can't we see that added? That again would also help people be more engaged in the mode, because let's say maybe you're a holding midfielder and you've enjoyed the first couple of years, but now you're getting a bit boring. Maybe you want to get a more attacking advanced role. Maybe you want to be a central attacking mid or even a forward. You can't do that, so you know, it just renders it completely useless. You start to fall out of love with the mode, and that's it really. Whereas I think we should just have the ability to train new positions. This can also be done in Pro Evolution Soccer, so yeah, let's get it in FIFA as soon as we can, and stop being behind the curveball, so to speak. And finally, in this category, we have being able to choose idols of your player. Now, the objective of this is to lead into scenarios, which is what we're going to go into next. But yeah, what you can do really in this situation is you can choose one, you can choose multiple, as many idols as you want really, players that you look up to or you want your player to look up to in my career mode. They've seen them as their, you know, their idol, their ambition, celebrity, so to speak, their footballer who has inspired them the most, and you can choose them as the idol. And that will lead us into the next category, which is scenarios. Now bear in mind that we've also got storylines coming up. I'm separating the two because for me, scenarios is going to be small situations that obviously are nice touches. They have some form of impact in your career mode, but they don't have the length and the span and the true impact of a storyline. So first of all, we are going to talk about these scenarios. An example of a scenario I'd like to see in play is, say for example, which we alluded to earlier, we want to lead on to that, when a player comes to his the club that he supports, he'll get a good reception, but also if he comes to a former club, he may get a good reception. But if he left on bad terms, he requests a transfer wanting more money, maybe you left for a rival, you'll get a bad reception, and you'll see that in games. Now, I'm not saying for one moment that in a free rated game you'll see the fans of the opposition giving the V sign, so to speak, towards the player, but at least some form of negative reception, you know, booing, etc., to really get on your back and perhaps put a bit of pressure on you as well in the game. You know, you might feel more inclined to be desperate to score, be desperate to have a fantastic performance against that club, because, you know, you want to stick it in the face of the opposition fans, etc. So that would be fantastic if we could have that in the mode. The next example links back to our previous category, the last improvement that we had in that, and that was being able to choose your idols. Now, what would happen with the scenarios is that perhaps the news outlets will pick up on it that your virtual pro is going to be playing against one of his idols, and you know, there'll be stories about it, etc., and you know, they'll just make something of it, and that'll be a nice little feature, a nice touch to have in the game that makes it all the more worthwhile playing. And then at the end of the game, this now spans for any players, but in particular it could lead on from that scenario, would be you could swap shirts with players, and the meaning of that, other than to have, you know, more cutscenes to make the whole experience a bit more immersive and involving, is also you can add them to a virtual trophy cabinet. We're going to come on to that later in the series as well. But yeah, you'll be able to add these shirts that you collect over the span of your career into the trophy cabinet. It'll be a good thing just to look back on, you know, a bit of nostalgia, something, again, a nice touch. You can add a little bit of depth to the mode. A final example of a scenario could be how news outlets will generally report rumours about you. Some might be true, some might be false, you know, etc, etc, but you know, it could be regarding different things like transfers and conducts, etc, and they can then escalate and lead into storylines, more prolonged, you know, spans of something that is really drives itself into a narrative, if you get what I mean. But guys, on that note, we are going to leave storylines improvement feature for the next episode in the series. If you've made it through to this point, then thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. The third episode of this career mode wishlist series will come later on in the week, so be sure to look out for that. Ring the bell if you haven't already and get notifications on for that. If you aren't already, subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed the content, then do make sure to leave a like on the channel, as that really helps me out. If there's any improvements that you'd like to see added to Player Career Mode, be sure to put them in the comments down below. Don't forget though, there are still episodes coming of this, so I may still have yet to announce them. But either way, get typing in that comment section and I'll get back to you. But on that note, I've been Bromo18. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.